Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is The Right Time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio or on the ESPN app.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. Hello, Saints fans. How are you? Are you out there? Are you listening? Did you enjoy the game last night? I mean, you'd have to admit it was a very, very, very exciting sort of game. It was 20-17 in the end. I mean, isn't this sort of thing that sort of excites you guys? Your squad was going down the field with a chance to take a lead. Drew Brees threw a pass in the end zone to the tight end. Some dude named Hill. It wound up being intercepted. I saw somebody say on the Twitters that the last 93 times that Drew Brees had thrown a pass to the tight end in the red zone, not only had it not gone as an interception, they had all been complete. Like he was cash money down there. That was something that y'all could count on. Until you couldn't. Until you lost. You also wound up in this situation where you got your football team set up in such a way where y'all got to depend on a dude from Atlanta. His name is Alvin Kamara. But you know, he wasn't able to play for the whole game. It happens. And suddenly the Saints looked a whole lot more normal and mortal without Kamara out there. And it's not like Mark Ingram played badly necessarily, but that running game that they've had was not the same without Kamara being there. Like, he was the variable that came in and changed. Basically, I feel like Kamara was to the Saints what I'm sure Adrian Peterson had in his mind that he would be for the Saints before they shipped him out of there. Because remember that when they got Adrian Peterson, we're like, wow, are they really going to run the ball like that? And we're like, nah, they're not going to run the ball like that. They're the Saints. And then they got Adrian Peterson out of there, and then they turned into the damn like Wisconsin Badgers. Anyway, sorry about that, Saints fans. And where I say I apologize to you, Saints fans, for the fact that y'all lost that game is I should have been looking out for you before the game instead of after the game. And after the game was when I realized what it was that y'all needed. So it was probably about 12:30 in the morning Eastern time after the game had been done. And I did something at that moment that I should have done before the game so that you guys could more adequately prepare. And I sent out the tweet with the picture of the paper bags. Because as you may recall, Saints fans have a history, a track record with putting paper bags on their faces because they were ashamed to be seen watching their little sorry football team in action. In this case, I sent it to you after the game, and I should have sent it before because there was going to be a moment where some of y'all were going to be there and we'd be like, man, I wish I could put a paper bag on my head right now. I wish nobody could see me right now. Damn, Bomani, where's my paper bag? And some of y'all had to wait all the way until the morning until you could hide your shame inside that paper bag. And that's not your fault. That's my fault. I claim to care. You know what I mean? I claim to be somebody that want to do something for other people, something that's bigger than myself, something that's outside myself. I don't like people to think of me as being selfish and being self-absorbed in that way because I'm not selfish or self-absorbed in that way. No, sirree, Bob. I'm a helper. I'm a pleaser. I'm a lover, and I love nothing more than giving Saints fans that paper bag. How'd y'all feel? How'd that go? By the way, after the Saints took that paper bag loss, I had a whole lot of people that were hitting me up, and they were talking about 28-3, 28-3, 28-3. And I get where you're coming from on the 28-3. And, like, if I was a Falcons fan, it would really hurt my heart if you kept hitting me with that 28-3. But what y'all know, man, I ain't no Falcons fan. Ain't nobody telling more 28-3 jokes than your boy. I go hard and heavy with those 28-3 jokes. Like, that's where I come from. That's what I do. We can tell 28-3 jokes together. But as soon as them 28-3 jokes are over, we going to come right back to talking about how y'all went in there and lost. Now, and by the way, now that the Saints managed to lose, the Saints managed to lose a game that Matt Ryan was doing everything he could to help y'all win. Right? Matt Ryan was doing everything he possibly could to be like, hey, Saints, I would love to lose this game to my rival at the crib. Remember last year when everybody was trying to tell me that I had been wrong about Matt Ryan all these years? And it's not even really this that I had been wrong about Matt Ryan all these years, because I am not the only person that had felt that way. But Matt Ryan had the season of his life. Everybody looked at him and was like, yo, man, he's balling. Good for Matt Ryan. But what you learned was, in the words of the great philosopher, man, you was who you was when you got here. He is the same exact dude that he had been prior, and that dude gives the ball away a bit. There he is. There he was, giving the ball away. Saints also wound up, I thought, in an interesting situation in this game where they have not been asking Drew Brees to go win games for them. And, I mean, to be fair on that, I don't think that's really an indictment of Drew Brees. Drew Brees, old as hell. Like, at some point, you stop putting the weight of your whole offense on some dude's arm. That is what they stopped doing, what Kamara allowed them to stop doing, except then Kamara wasn't there. And now all of a sudden, you got to look a lot more like the Saints. Now, this isn't to say that Drew Brees played badly. That interception was certainly bad. But I wouldn't say that Drew Brees played badly in that game. But we are beyond the point in Drew Brees' career where you're going to be like, all right, buddy, carry us. Take us there. Get us through. We're not there anymore. We've been there before, but we're not there anymore. So when that dude gets hurt, you got to be like, all right, Drew, go make it happen. I don't know. And so what we do also then end up with is I've talked about the Falcons-Saints rivalry and how it's evolved and everything else. It has been marked really for the last 10 years by the quarterbacks. Drew Brees got there in 2006, and that, of course, you know, the Brees-Peyton era ushered in something completely different for the Saints, right? Like, that's a whole changing of the guard in just about every way you could possibly imagine with that 2006 team. It's basically almost like they got a whole new team. You got that. But the last 10 years of this has been Brees Ryan, Brees Ryan, Brees Ryan. This is basically what this rivalry has been. Matt Ryan come out here and throw 3 interceptions to Drew Brees throws the interception at the end. These other cats, man, they need to be out there on the field with their helmets off like, look at me, bro. We the future. We what this is. This us. And now the Saints, after getting that big win last week against the Panthers that put them up in the division by that one game, Panthers got a tough one this weekend because they playing against the Vikings, but it can be right back to that tie at first place. And quiet as it's kept, Tampa Bay let us down, a lot of us in our belief that the NFC South was going to wind up being the best division in the NFL. What do you know? Fast forward to now, and the NFC South has turned itself into the best division in the NFL. It's right there. Good for them. But let's get back to these Saints fans. Any of y'all out there, do any of y'all want to talk? I just want to be here to help. I mean, I understand that this is probably a really bad day for y'all. I get that totally. And the other part about it, to be fair to you Saints fans, is, except for those of y'all in Atlanta, it's not that bad a day for y'all because it's not like you going to work to deal with Falcons fans, right? Like, I get that. You don't have to worry about that. Y'all actually don't tend to inhabit that much of the same space, except for y'all in Atlanta. So, I know it's not going to be that level of painful for you, but I personally just want to know what it's like to be you today. It's a fair question to ask, right? And please tell me about 28-3. I'll laugh right along with you. You can ask anybody who knows me. You realize what high quality content that we got for our radio show out of 28-3? Because I was the one who actually turned out to be right. See, that's the thing. Whenever the Falcons suffer some heartbreaking, miserable defeat, I'm right there to tell the jokes about the heartbreaking, miserable defeat. I just don't want y'all to participate because I don't want anybody getting this twisted, mixing it up, thinking that I'm one of y'all. It'd be wild every now and then, man. I just pop up on the internet, see people talking, and then I see them talking about Go Saints, and I'm like, what, you're one of those? It's disappointing. It's disheartening. I mean, people ain't even from there sometimes. Like, not that many of them. We talked about this already, where y'all talk about y'all the Who Dat Nation. Ain't no Who Dat Nation. It's like from New Orleans to Mobile. I know who y'all are. I know where y'all come from. I know what y'all stand for. I know what y'all represent. That's fine. And last night, not really what you wanted. That being said, for the Saints, I will give them a certain measure of credit for this part. If nothing else, you guys definitely had the best looking uniforms out there. I don't know what the hell they had the Falcons out there with. Like, this notion of the color rush, do you guys actually get charged up about the color rush? Like, does anybody get excited about the color rush? Because they be having to come up with so many things to make the color rush thing happen, where I'm looking at the Falcons right there, and I'm like, yo, that looked like when you put some shoes in the Nike ID, and you had a great idea, and then you actually look at them, and you're like, ooh, nah, I don't really want to do that. As if the NFL is like, nah, go ahead, they'll buy it anyway. Like, are people buying some of these atrocious, ridiculous jerseys? That red on red with the black in it, are y'all buying those? I'm dead serious about that. Are you buying those? Because I feel like the NFL is just out here messing with people's eyes for money that people aren't actually spending. Maybe y'all are blind, too. Who's to say? All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next. Oh, in that game, forgot to tell you, Sean Payton and Devontae Freeman kind of sort of wound up in a brouhaha of sorts, not with each other, but in words and gestures. Find out what I mean on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Anita Marks of ESPN will join us next segment. Anita Marks will join us at 4:30 Eastern. Find out what in the world's going on with the folks in Cleveland. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number at 8. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So, seeing some of you Saints fans decided you wanted to call in and talk to me. I was hoping you would do that. Let's hit the phones to talk to Paul in Maryland. Paul, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Thanks, Bomani. Hey, I think you seriously underestimate how many people move away from Louisiana as Saints fans.
Fewer than every other state in America by percentage, but go ahead.
Yeah, and how many people go and become Saints fans by going to LSU or Loyola and Tulane from out of state?
How many people you think that is? How many people you really think that is?
There's a lot of people turning over through those schools. Look, I live in Maryland. I'm a season ticket holder, and I have been since I got them from my dad. I grew up there. I moved away, joined the military. I see people here all the time at the grocery store with Saints gear on. I can't
all the time, huh?
And 3 or 4 people with Saints gear on their car.
All the time, huh?
All the time. Every weekend during football season, Bomani. I'm telling you.
They just like the Cowboys, huh?
Well, not quite, maybe, but they're getting there. I had a boss at my current place of employment who's from Kentucky. He was a reserve rear admiral. He carried a Saints cup around throughout the entire command. I mean, I think you just really underestimate, particularly when you try and downplay it to New Orleans to Mobile. I mean, that's really kind of underestimating.
Why are you defending yourself to me, Paul? Why are you allowing me to do this to you? Why are you allowing me to do this to you?
Because you may be right about the Falcons and 28-3.
Why have you allowed me to do this to you? Why did you let me play you on the radio in front of America? Thanks for calling, Paul. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Ooh, let's go to Robert from New Orleans. Robert, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Hey, Bo, this is Roderick.
My bad.
No problem, man. The Who That Nation does exist, bro.
It ain't no nation, man. It's just a bunch of people who live in different places. But go ahead.
No, I'm telling you, we have fans in Germany. I've had fans that we watched Tahiti when I was there. So I mean, there's people there that root for this team all over, man. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
You know what though? You made a good point. And one thing I do have to be fair about is I would acknowledge that there are probably fans of the Saints all over the world, like a handful here and there in different countries. And you know how them people got to Germany, don't you, Roderick? You know how they got there? They got there in the military. And Roderick, why'd they get there? Why'd they go to the military? Because why'd they go to the military? Same reason my daddy went to the military. That's right, to get the hell out of Dodge. That's the same reason my daddy went to the military and the rest of y'all. But I appreciate the call. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We'll get back to some of you salty Saints fans in a minute. But had a little incident yesterday. So Sean Payton did a little choke thing last night toward Devontae Freeman. So that's the way that it has been interpreted. Now, let Sean Payton tell it. He don't even know what y'all talking about.
Choke sign. I don't remember that. Thank you.
Yeah, he does not remember. Devontae Freeman, on the other hand, here he is on WAGA-TV. Apparently he remembers.
I saw that man don't know nothing about choking. He ain't from where I'm from. He don't know about choking. But he a good competitor, so he probably the competes probably came out. But, we don't let that bother me, man. He don't know nothing about choking.
Did he say the competes? Can you play that one more time?
I saw it. That man don't know nothing about choking. He ain't from where I'm from. He don't know about choking. But he a good competitor, so he probably the competes probably came out. But
yeah, I've never heard of the competes. I do know this, though. Devontae Freeman is from a place in Miami known as Pork and Beans, a.k.a. The Beans. I do not know very much about the Beans myself, but I do have a friend who taught him the Beans via Teach for America. Teach for America likes to send people to go teach in places with names like the Beans. And he said he was teaching the Beans. He teaching like 3rd, 4th grade or something like that. Man, he said he had kids stand up and explain to him one day, look here, mister, I'm from the Beans. She from the Beans. He from the Beans. And we just not about to do this today because they was all from the Beans. And now I'm curious as to what choking means in the Beans. He's like, he don't know what choking is. Whoa. Now, I can understand if you, Devontae Freeman, don't say you don't know what choking is because you're not about to choke because you're from the Beans, so you don't get scared. But I did come away from that very, interested in what it is that choke means there. Because if I learned anything in Miami, what you think a word means is not necessarily what they think a word means. No, he didn't call back. That was a different Jack from Maryland. Okay, I thought I was losing my mind. 888-729-3776, that's our telephone number. Let's talk to my man Big E in New Orleans. Big E, what's going on, man?
Bo, my man, I love you, Bo. I love you, man. Let me tell you something, how crazy it is down here, man. You want to know what it feels like to be down here? It's snowing in New Orleans. Can you believe that, bro?
That's the craziest thing in the world.
And look, the bottom line is it ain't no nation. I've been born and raised down here in New Orleans, but guess what? I'm Pittsburgh till I die. And understand this, Bo, these old fair weather fans down here, they'll love them long as they winning, but they hoot at and everything when they winning. But when they losing, you don't get a peep out of them, bro. That's all I got to say, bro. Thank you for letting me do. But one more thing. For us to beat Belichick and Tom Brady, Tomlin going to have to outcoach that boy, man. He going to have to outcoach.
No, I would say,
thank you, bro.
Hey, Big E, I appreciate it. That is one thing about the Steelers. All the good things I could probably say about Mike Tomlin, it sure does look like Belichick cooks him every time. Now, Belichick cooks just about everybody, but that is the indictment of Mike Tomlin, if there is one. It seemed like they go play the Patriots, the team they need to overcome, and they look like bums just about every time. All right, 888-729-3776. Say to the phone, talk to Jack in Maryland. Jack, thanks for calling the right time.
What's up, Bo? First, let me say something to Big E. Big E has to be the biggest sellout ever. The guy probably never been as far as Mississippi, but he's a Pittsburgh fan. Like, how do you explain that?
I will say this to Big E, though. Ryan Clark said the same thing about y'all being a bunch of fair weather fans, and he's from down there.
That doesn't make it so because Ryan Clark says it.
I'm just telling you, Big E ain't the biggest sellout necessarily. We got sellouts on the payroll as far as that. That's all I'm telling you is that he ain't the only person that say that about y'all.
The Who Dat Nation is a real thing. It's a fact. People love the Saints. It's not no fair weather. We've been rocking with the Saints from day one.
Word.
Period.
Word.
And it is all over.
Word.
And you're a closet Atlanta fan. And I know it's easy to just kind of brush it off like, oh, yeah, 28-3, and pretend like it doesn't bother you. But it does.
But it doesn't. But it doesn't. The most aggravating thing for y'all is you want to come back at me with Falcon slander, and I'll be like, partner, I'll join in with you. I'm off that narcotic. I don't understand why you're not happy for me being off that narcotic. And if you a Saints fan, would you ever want to be a Falcons fan? No. You would be recommending to them that they quit. I went ahead and quit, and you want to make me one because if you don't make me a Falcons fan, you ain't got no room to be victorious over me. Why don't you go put on a paper bag? I'm just saying. Why don't you go put on a paper bag? Jack, I appreciate the call. That's what we need to do, man. We need to come up with our own line of right time paper bags, and we can send them out to all the Saints fans. Like, you call in and win some contest, and some of y'all would want to wear them paper bags. Y'all would totally want that. Damn, Bomani sent me a paper bag. And then you can watch the game in peace. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, what I just did right there, Saints fans, is I totally manipulated you to fill out an entire segment of content that I myself did not have. Who dat? Hey, coming up next, how toxic was the situation in Cleveland with the front office of Hugh Jackson? We'll talk to Anita Marks of ESPN about that on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. You salty Saints fans, man. Anita Marks will join us shortly, by the way. You salty Saints fans, y'all are out there. I understand why you're so salty, because you allowed me to make you salty, and I would say thank you for giving me that joy. Let's hit the phone, talk to Charlie in New Orleans. Charlie, thanks for calling the right time.
How you doing? Good afternoon, Bomani. How you doing?
Doing all right, man.
You doing all right? Well, you strolling. You can bring that paper bag down here, but that's like, first of all, you need to talk to the founding father of the Who Dat Nation.
The who? Charlie, unfortunately, our guest is here now. On the line with us now, check her out at ESPN New York. Also at ESPN Fantasy, her name is Anita Marks. Now, Anita, you got some information on how bad things had gotten in Cleveland with Hugh Jackson and Sashi Brown. Where did it go wrong?
I think from the get-go, they signed Hugh Jackson to come on and be the head coach, and it was his understanding that, yes, this was an organization that was really committed to analytics, but he wasn't aware that they were 100% committed to analytics. And, when you can't play Moneyball in the NFL and have any success. And, he tried to work with Sashi Brown for 2 years. He had no say in regard to draft picks. He had no say in regard to free agents, players that they were going to keep on the roster, players that they were going to try to trade away. And it just got to a point after the A.J. McCarron debacle where Sashi Brown and the front office couldn't get the paperwork into the NFL in time, that was pretty much the final straw. And they were on non-speaking terms for at least a week or 2 weeks. And the ownership, Jim Haslam and Dee Haslam, had to make a decision. Were they going to stay with the analytics philosophy, or were they going to go with Hugh Jackson? And they decided to go with Hugh Jackson.
Now, when you say 100% committed to analytics, what does that mean?
So, so every team in the NFL has an analytics department, okay? So, very similar to what we're seeing now with, the FPI percentage of winning. You go even further in regard to, like, certain players, drafting players, free agents, how they're able to, take a really good assessment in regard to their body of work through numbers, okay? Every NFL team has a department like that. And typically what they do is they'll combine their scouting department and their coaching staff and their opinion on players along with the numbers that their algorithms and all that are able to equate. So you find a happy medium. Well, the group that is running the Cleveland Browns, they're all numbers. They've never played football. They've never coached football. They don't know football. All they believe in is their analytics department, is the number system. So, for example, let's go Cody Kessler, a quarterback that they drafted. Their numbers said that Cody Kessler equates to what Drew Brees was coming out of college. So they immediately assume, well, Cody Kessler has the ability to be the next Drew Brees in the NFL. But you can't, NFL players, you know this as well as I do, Bomani, they're not baseball players. They're not all about statistics. It's more about heart and grit than anything else. And so you can't play Moneyball in the NFL, and there was no happy medium. And so that's where the Cleveland Browns were different from everybody else.
All right, we are talking to Anita Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. So when was the decision made to go ahead and get rid of Sashi Brown? Was it just as quick as it seems, because they found a new general manager fast?
Yeah, listen, they've been interviewing a number of general managers for the past few weeks. Again, as I said, I really do believe the final straw was what went down with A.J. McCarron. Keep in mind, Hugh Jackson was with the Cincinnati Bengals for a very long time. He knows A.J. McCarron. I'm not saying that A.J. McCarron is the end-all, be-all of quarterbacks for the future of the Cleveland Browns, but that was a guy that Hugh felt that he could bring in, maybe win 1-2 football games this season, be the bridge between the young quarterbacks that they have now and see what A.J. McCarron can do. And then, as I said, they didn't get the paperwork in time. Some speculate that was on purpose. I think that was the final straw. And again, just, no communication between Hugh and Sachi and the organization it was a cancer. It was a bad working environment. And in order for teams to have success, everybody has to be on the same page, right? Ownership, general manager, scouting department, coaching staff, players, everybody has to be on. And it's mind-boggling, Bomani. If we're just talking about this one team, like as we know, there's 32 teams, and the majority of them, it seems like it's so easy, right? It seems like it would be just so easy that this is a formula for success, but the majority of teams, they're not all on the same page on every level, and that's where the breakdown is, and this was probably worse than most.
All right, talking to Anita Marks of ESPN here on the Right Time. Before we let you go, looking at the Giants and where they go from here, what do you think they're going to wind up doing with the quarterback situation for the rest of the year?
That's a great question. The way that this whole Eli Manning thing was handled, and how upset and angry and disappointed he was with the organization, more so specifically Jerry Reese. I think John Mara and this organization feel that they owe it to Eli Manning. He wants to start. So I do believe Eli is going to start all the remainder regular season games for the Giants. Now, but unfortunately what happens there, Bomani, is that they cut off their nose to spite their face, right? Because they're going to have a top 3, top 5 draft pick. They have Davis Webb, a quarterback that they draft in the 3rd round, that they are not going to be able to really, truly evaluate and assess. He might come in. We might see him play if there's a blowout, per se. But, you want to take a young man and you want to be able to evaluate him for an entire week of preparation. How a guy prepares to be a starter and have him play all 4 quarters. I don't think that happens with the Giants. Again, big reason is because of the way they handled this whole Eli Manning thing. And I think they're hoping that he comes back for another year. We'll see what happens.
All right, that is Anita Marks. Check her out on ESPN Radio in New York, also ESPN Fantasy. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
You got it. Have a great weekend.
All right, now you too. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. You can save hundreds on your car, business, or recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com today. Now that's Progressive. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, we got my man Cam Stewart with his NFL picks this week. He's got his gold pick, his silver pick, his bronze pick. Hopefully, though, this week he will give you some picks that actually win some games. I think that would probably be the thing that will help you guys out a little bit more. If you don't get that, at least it's entertaining on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Anita Marks for joining us last segment. Up with us now. Check him out at AM 640 on the radio in Toronto, also the Fantasy Sports Network. His name is Cam Stewart. All right, Cam, you give us your picks. You put them with medals next to them. Let's go. The bronze pick. We got Chiefs Raiders. The Chiefs are a 4-point favorite at home. Which way you going?
Well, Bomani, I got to tell the people the picks are more like cubic zirconia the last little while. I should be sticking to the NCAA. It's been hot, but I've been rough in the NFL. Hope to turn it around this week. We're going to go with the Bears, plus 6.5 against the Bungles. And you want to talk about the Bungles, wow, what a crazy game versus Pittsburgh. Those teams really hurting each other. I hope Ryan Shazier's going to be okay. But, man, that was more like a boxing fight than a football game. And as for Cincinnati, typical Bengal fashion, they piss away the game. What are you going to do? And probably not going to make the playoffs. I think with all the injuries and all the problems and with Marvin Lewis, the shadow lingering there, I'm going to take the points with the Bears. I know they're not special, but the defense is, and I think we can stay really, really close. You got to tell you one thing. Andy Dalton, the Bengals, I don't like these guys as favorites. They have a way of gagging at the end of games, Bomani. I'm getting close to a touchdown with 6.5. I got to take Trubisky and the Bears to keep it real tight. They might even win the game.
All right, that's Cam's gold medal pick here on the Right Time. Let's check out your silver. Panthers and Vikings. The Vikings are at home. They're 3-point favorites. Which way are you going?
This is going to be a tough one, too, my friend. Hey, Bomani, what can we say about Minnesota? We've been on them all season long, and they've been fantastic. But in the NFL, sometimes travel gets the teams. Minnesota 3 straight on the road, 4 of their last 5, and I think this is the week that catches up to them. As for Cam and the Panthers, usually Cam plays his best football against good teams, not lesser opponents, and Carolina in an interesting spot. They watched Atlanta win. They got to deal with Atlanta, New Orleans, things up for grabs in that division after the Saints lost. So big game for Carolina. I'm not sure if this is going to be a popular one, but hey, I get 2.5, 3 points with Carolina. I got to take the field goal. I think they win the game outright. Wow. Give me the Panthers. Hope they got teeth this week.
We're talking to Cam Stewart with his NFL picks here on the Right Time. All right, bronze medal game, Chiefs-Raiders. The Raiders are on the road going to Arrowhead Stadium. They are 4-point underdogs. You taking them?
No, I was actually, Bomani, I'm going to go the other way. And I know a lot of KC backers, guys I talk to in the business, horrible performance, 14-0 lead on the road against the Jets, and that defense has been absolutely torched. But I like the situation this week. Revenge from earlier on in the year. Alex Smith's doing his thing. He's been okay. It's not the offense's problem. It's the defense. And as for the Raiders, Geno Smith and the Giants covered against these guys, so I'm not sold on the silver and black. Andy Reid has been around the block. I know this team is free-falling right now, but this is the week at home, at Arrowhead. All the stars there ready to play. This is the time I think the Chiefs get it together, Bomani. I'm seeing a 31-20 win. Chiefs by 11. They cover the 3.5, 4 points. I really like it. Usually a tight game when these teams get together, but I think the Chiefs step up this week.
I also love that you and I are the two guys that still call them the chefs after that commercial.
Exactly, buddy. They'll always be the chefs to me, but what a crazy season, Bomani. Can we believe these guys? They were rocking and rolling, and now we're talking about maybe not even winning the division or making the playoffs. Huge game for the Chiefs this week. I think they show up.
All right, talking to Cam Stewart of the Fantasy Sports Network with his NFL picks here on the right time. All right, we got a couple of more NFL games for him. Jags, Seahawks. The Jags are 2-point favorites in this one. Which way are you going?
Yeah, Seahawks are my team, and that was actually one of the only good picks I gave last week was them over Philadelphia. But this week, tough spot for Seattle. Now they got to go on the road, short week. And I like what Patrick Ramsey's saying. Hey, guys, what about this year? We're a good young team, not getting any respect. Everyone's talking about the Patriots and the Steelers in the AFC. What about the Jacksonville Jaguars? They've done absolutely fantastic stuff. Doug Marrone has these guys playing. They lead the league in sacks. You can't throw on them. And one thing about Russell Wilson, I love the man, Bomani. He's an escape artist. But against that Jacksonville team, there's going to be a lot of the times those runs are going to be for negative yards. I hate to say it, Jacksonville, they look good to me. I got to take them. They only got to win by 2 points. I think they win the game. Tough spot for Seattle. Give me the Jaguars.
All right, now let's switch it up. We've got Washington and the Chargers. The Chargers are 6.5-point favorites at home, I believe. Which way are you going?
Yeah, Washington's one of those teams that, even though they're banged up, Bomani, they always seem to show up. And I'll tell you one thing about San Diego over the years I've learned. Great underdog, not so much a favorite. Every game is close. Even against Cleveland last week, the Brownies covered against these guys, but Cleveland's done me wrong so year I couldn't come back to them. But Washington, even with the injuries, Kirk Cousins will score. I like the Chargers' defensive line, but the Redskins are a gritty bunch. It seems like a touchdown is too many points. San Diego loves those tight games, Bomani. Maybe the Chargers by 3 or 4, but I could see Washington hanging around in this one and making it real interesting. Give me the Skins plus 6.5.
All right, we're talking to Cam Stewart of the Fantasy Sports Network. There we go with this NFL picks.
You got it, buddy.
Here we go. On the right time. All right, the game of the week is Eagles-Rams. The Rams are 2.5-point favorites at home. Which way are you going?
Bomani, I know crazy stuff is happening. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in California with the wildfires right now. It's getting out of control. The Rams are practicing in different facilities. I'll tell you one thing. Athletes, creatures of habit. I got to go with Philadelphia in this one. Some tough breaks against Seattle in that game. Also, a couple calls went against them, but I think the Eagles are a very, very good football team. Big test for the Rams. I think the Eagles, though, they show up on the road and get it done. They're getting only 2.5 points in this game, but I like them outright. So I'm going to fly with the Eagles this week. Big rebound game for Carson Wentz, and I see Alshon Jeffrey doing big things in that game, too. Give me the Eagles plus 2.5.
All right, on to Cam Stewart of the Fantasy Sports Network with his NFL picks. All right, before we let you go, we got a big one here in the United States in college football. Army-Navy. Navy's a 3.5-point favorite. Which way are you going?
Bomani, sign me up with the Army, my friend. I love the situation, and year after year, Army's getting better. And for the first time, these guys actually, if they win the game, they win the Commander-in-Chief trophy as the best school with the armed forces. And I'll tell you, their defense is lethal year after year. Army used to be a doormat. Now they're good. Navy, on the other hand, we still like this team. We know they run the triple option. We're going to see a lot of running in this game. If you like clock ticking and you like ground play, well, this is going to be your type of football game. But the difference this year is the Army defense, one of the better defenses in the nation. I think it's tight. I think Army beats Navy outright, but I'm going to take the 3.5 points in what should be a really, really good game. Army versus Navy this year's edition could be one of the best ever because both teams are decent.
Cam, I have to ask you this as you are joining us here from Canada. I don't know if you've heard, it is snowing in Texas this week.
It's snowing in Texas. Oh,
Austin.
Man.
It's snowing in Austin.
Unbelievable. You know what it's going to be in Buffalo, Bomani, for that Bills-Colts game? They're talking a couple feet of snow. I was watching the horse races, true, from Batavia Downs outside of Buffalo. The announcer couldn't even read the horses' numbers because of the blizzard. So crazy stuff going. I can't believe it's snowing in Texas, but in Buffalo, that Colts-Bills game, man, it is going to be absolute pandemonium with the weather. It should be a good one.
Yeah, man, I'm not built for that stuff. It's going to snow in
No,
New York
you're not,
this
Bomani.
weekend.
You like it down south. You're in Florida now. now, buddy. Don't worry. Leave me. I'm a big guy. I can handle the cold, my friend. I lived up in the Canadian Arctic. You don't worry about it. You catch the rays. I'll deal with the cold.
Unfortunately, I'm in New York, so I'm going to be freezing with you, too. But that is...
Oh, yeah, New York's not that warm, buddy. It's not that. It's a little bit better than Toronto. But, hey, anyway, Bomani, I hope you have a great weekend, my friend. And sorry about the picks with the football, but I think we're going to turn it around this week. And all the best, my friend.
All right, my man. You take it easy. That is Cam Stewart of the Fantasy Sports Network on with his NFL picks. The push for the playoffs has begun. Tune in for a Sunday football doubleheader as the Vikings visit the Panthers and the Cardinals host the Titans. Pregame begins at noon Eastern on most ESPN radio stations.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is The Right Time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio or on the ESPN app.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. Oh, man, Salty Saints fans still chiming in there. I've been kind of antagonizing you Saints fans after you lost that game to the Falcons, as I know that is when you feel the most pain. Therefore, I would like to kick you while you are down. Someone who calls himself NOLA Nutrition says, you managed to fire up Saints fans. Congratulations. Odd how you're from Atlanta, but have apparently abandoned your hometown team. Must be nice to be a fair weather fan. By the way, let's see what you say after the Saints win the division. Number one, actually, I'm from Houston. Number two, yes, I abandoned all them sorry teams. I had no problem with doing that because my identity is not so much tied up in that. I got tired of the relationship that I was in with them, so I went on about my business, and I've actually been much happier as a result. Number three, you lost last night to the Falcons. You should have walked around to work with a paper bag on your face. I can't even see your face right here, so basically your Twitter account already has a paper bag on. So why don't you take that logo for NOLA Nutrition off of there and replace it with what it really is, which is a paper bag, as you hide your funny-looking face. Speaking of New Orleans, you guys may have seen a thing the other day where Kevin Durant and Boogie Cousins had a little thing on the court. I don't know what to call it. It was far short of a brouhaha. It looked like your standard NBA. Don't nobody really want to fight until somebody get all between them, and then all of a sudden somebody wants to fight. And so we just kind of laughed it off. We had Steven Jackson on yesterday, and he talked about how he doesn't understand how it is that people think that Kevin Durant's a punk because he knows cats from Maryland, and he don't really know no punks from Maryland. And all of that might be true. And I'm absolutely, to be clear, not saying that Kevin Durant is a punk in any sort of situation. I am saying, though, that we later found out that people who were like, well, him and Boogie are just cool anyway. Apparently, Boogie was not cool for long. There was a photograph taken in the tunnel. I was going to call it backstage, but that's not really what it is. The bowels of the arena. How about that? And the picture is Boogie Cousins trying to go find Kevin Durant. And this is here from a story from the New York Times that says, quote, Cousins was storming down the hallway in search of Durant, who was making his way off the court after his ejection and towards the locker room. Security officers, aware that trouble was brewing, quickly diverted Durant into a small corridor as others slowed Cousins' progress. Hold on. Let's get to the point of emphasis here. Quickly diverted Durant to a small corridor as several others slowed Cousins' progress. I don't know about you, but that sounds like they got cold Boogie at the arena. Where they're like, yo, if he wilds out, what we're going to do is we're going to take the cat he's coming from and we're just going to push him off somewhere else and just have him walking around. He walking around like Evander Holyfield in that Sports Center commercial. Charlie, come get your whooping. Right? Like he is stalking the hallway, and they're like, yo, get this dude out of here, man. Get this dude out of here. Now, if you have not seen the picture, I believe Warriors Talk on Twitter has the picture. Go find that picture. And the reason that you need to see that picture is they got one security dude who comes out there, and Boogie's coming toward him, and that dude's eyes are big as saucers. He's like, what in the world am I supposed to do now? What am I going to do? Because here's the thing about arena security. I'm gonna give you a story from when I was younger. Use it as an analogy here. So I did a summer program once at a college. I think this was before my senior year of high school. And this janitor was walking around the library. There's a bunch of high school students there, So the janitor is coming around the library, and he's salty, right? He mad as hell. And he like, I find out who did this. I'm going to report you when I find out who did this. And, of course, we find this funny because we're teenagers. It's this angry older dude who, by the way, after looking at him, I now realize as I've gotten older, probably did time, and we really didn't want no problems with him. Anyway, he was like, I'll go report you. And what he said happened was that somebody had left some boo-boo on the floor in the bathroom. And I remember I was talking to somebody about that, and they told me, because they had actually been a janitor before, and they were like, look, the janitor's job isn't to clean up stuff like that. The janitor's job is just to tidy up around you. It's not to clean up after you. It's to tidy up for regular wear and tear type stuff. I mention that because much like it's not the janitor's job to clean up after you, it is also not security's job to stop Boogie Cousins from fighting people, right? That dude is there wearing a yellow blazer. Now, if that dude has showed up wearing a tight black shirt and some black pants, maybe even a black blazer on top of that, okay, maybe his job as security would involve stuff like getting in front of Boogie Cousins. When your job involves wearing a yellow blazer and a walkie-talkie, that's not what you came to work trying to do that day. So you imagine that. You just a regular old arena security guy. You just trying to stop the groupies from getting to places they're not supposed to. You come out there and Boogie Cousins starts coming toward you. Hey, man, I feel like Kevin Durant need to settle that for himself. I don't care if you call my manager about it. But look, man, I just thought about it. And if I was Kevin Durant, I wouldn't want nobody thinking I was no punk hiding behind security. So I allowed him to take the man's way out. Like that's my approach under those circumstances if Boogie Cousins is coming through there. No. The regular old security guard in the yellow blazer, I don't feel like he's equipped for the I'm going to stop Boogie Cousins program. I don't think it's there. I would also like to know, by the way, while they were whisking Kevin Durant away to another corridor as though they found out that like somebody had gotten past security and the president was in the house, I want to know what is going through his mind when you hear like, no, man, Boogie wasn't playing. Like Durant just thought this is going to be something, I was frustrated. He was frustrated. We was just expressing our frustrations. And Boogie Cousins is like, I am going to break your face. I don't feel like there's a chance for Durant to win that fight. Why? Because Boogie Cousins obviously has a much greater deal of want to in that circumstance than Kevin Durant does. And the winner of the fight often has something to do with weight class and stuff like that and training. But want to. Like you land that first punch, you got a chance. I believe we had Steven Jackson on yesterday and he said that about learn from Chris Childs. You land them first two punches, you're going to win an NBA fight. Thing with Boogie Cousins is Boogie Cousins lands two punches. He may win the NBA fight, but he's probably going to lose the trial. Because there might be a trial. And it might be a felony. Because they in different weight classes. Yeah. But imagine that being security. What you telling Boogie? Like, hey, baby, you got to fall back right now, man. Like, I feel like your appeal to Boogie Cousins if he's trying to fight Kevin Durant at that moment is like, say, bro, look, man, I'm just out here trying to do my job, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't come here to do all of this, man. We ain't done nothing to you. We gonna get in trouble with the manager if you keep this up, man. Just chill out a little bit. They got some gumbo over there in the other room. You get you some of that and everything gonna be all right. Because if there's anything that I can tell you, and I really can't tell you this so much firsthand because I long ago knew this rule, but a lot of my friends who have unfortunately taken bottles to the head, unfortunately been kicked in the face, all kinds of stuff like that, there's one thing, but I don't want to talk about what that one thing is right now. But there is nothing but one thing in this world that is more overrated than breaking up fights. I'm sure it makes people feel very noble when they go and break up fights. And if you're like in a situation involving some kids or something like that, or you could get to the fight before it starts, then go ahead and break that bad boy up. But if the fight has already started, no. I ain't really trying to break up no fight that is in progress. Like, I feel like that's the job of a referee, and you got to go to like classes and stuff like that to learn how to be a referee, don't you? Like, am I wrong there? Like you just let any old body be a referee. You got to qualify to be a referee. Like, if you're not giving me that's what the security should have said. Say, bro, somebody go get a referee. I think they took a fight breaking up class into being a referee. I'm just here trying to make sure don't nobody steal nothing. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. DJ Mike Hitman, what's going on?
Hey, Bo.
Yeah, man.
You know I live in Chicago, right?
Yes.
You know I play in that Who That Nation is, right?
Yes.
I walk in the store, what do I have to do? The lady said 15 cents for a brown paper bag. Who That Nation is the reason that they lost so many games. And the lady said, who is that? Who that nation? New Orleans Saints. I had to type it up on a YouTube and show it. She said, oh, that's why we pay for bag. That's why we pay for paper bag. It's coming to your town, my town, everybody else's town. Get ready. 15 cents. Blame who that nation. And both, by the way, those guys wasn't going to fight. I know when you're going to see a fight. Boogie Cousins, man, they weren't going to fight. I'm going to tell you what's a fight. When I went all the way to Indiana to get a champagne glass and enter the house, and the lady and the father was in the house. Told the lady to sit down, told the father to shut up, and the police was on my side. That's a fight. When you got the parents to respect you, to go drive an hour drive to go get a champagne glass that I put my milk and olive in, and somebody stole. That's a fight. I ain't had no problem after that.
But, Mike, y'all didn't fight that dude. I was listening while that happened. Y'all managed to avoid the fight.
We didn't have to fight. What I say, shut up and sit down.
Yeah. Good game. I thought Good Game was going to fight, though. You had to calm him down for real.
Yeah, I had to calm it down. You know why? You do not take a man's champagne glass with milk and olive in. The best drink you could ever buy, milk and olive at the bar. It's only $1. It's cheap, but it's worth it. Another thing, folks, I heard you and that guy. He from Buffalo, you in New York. That fur coat. Spend some money, baby. They don't do that to New Jack City. Wear that coat. Denzel Washington side. Them bears look good on you, baby. I got a couple of them. If you want one, I'll give you one. You and Shannon. And then another thing, but when that guy's doing the pick, he like my man. Have some music. Some nice music in the background. You know, make the pick. And then he's wrong. The Rams going to win. I'm going to get you. The Rams going to win that game against Philadelphia. High picks like that. You need music, folks. And when it's cold outside, women love it because you get close up and keep it warm. Have a good day, folks.
All right, Mike. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, look like some of y'all got stories about breaking up fights. Also, did you know Babe Ruth might be coming to Major League Baseball? I didn't learn about this dude till before the show. I'll tell you about him. He's from Japan on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Jonathan Jones of SI will join us next segment. John Jones will join us at 5:30 Eastern. This holiday season, the best deals are at 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order the Holiday Light Roses bouquet, you'll get double the flowers at no extra cost. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. I was talking about the security guards that was in the tunnel at the Smoothie King Arena in New Orleans trying to stop Boogie Cousins from fighting Kevin Durant and how breaking up fights is overrated. Got somebody that seems to agree with me. Let's hit the phone and talk to Sean in D.C. Sean, thanks for calling The Right Time.
How you doing, Bo?
Doing all right, man.
I got a story for you. I used to bartend in D.C. back when Chocolate City was Chocolate City, and we had our urban night and our international night. International night, I was the only black bartender in the club, black male, that is. If you've ever been to an international party, you know the Latinos get down and party hard. So I'm partying. I'm pouring up the drinks. I see a fight start to break out. I'm a bartender, but when a fight breaks out, that's messing with my money. I can't have people messing with my money, so I jump in to help security. This is back when smoking legally was allowed in the clubs. So I'm breaking up the fight, and in the midst of breaking up the fight and pulling girls' hair apart, I get caught with one of those old ashtrays in the head. That was the last time I jumped my black tail over the bar to break up a fight.
Yeah, man. So it was women fighting, and you still caught an ashtray.
Women fighting, and I caught an ashtray.
Yeah, man. That's the one thing, though, in those circumstances, and I appreciate the call, man. Like, anytime I've seen women fight in the club, tools were used. Whatever was nearby. If y'all know anything about Atlanta, there used to be a club called 559 that was over there off in the West End. And I remember the first time we went to 559, I was 18 years old. I was on somebody else's ID. We got in that bad boy. And 559 was free all night for women, and it was like free for dudes until 11. But the problem was they were letting any woman into 559. Like, adulthood was stretched very broadly in terms of their admission standards. But anyway, we walk up in there, and I just remember that the first thing I saw, man, after about 10 minutes of being there, these two women got in a fight, and I ain't never seen anybody pick up a chair more smoothly. Like, she had a future in the WWE, the way she picked up that chair and swung that thing. Bow! Caught old girl in the back. And I was like, oh, yeah, no. They are not here for fighting fair. No. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. All right, so are you guys familiar with Shohei Ohtani? I had been seeing people talk about him. He's a Japanese baseball star, and they were talking about all the teams that were trying to get him on the program and everything else. Now, I want you to hear what Buster Olney has to say about the tools that the young man has.
He, as a pitcher, he's a high-end guy, throws 101 miles an hour, and you can find the clips on YouTube of how great his breaking stuff is. His command is, still a work in progress. As a hitter, he's got power. He's 6'3", hits the ball left center field. He's thought to be a better pitcher than he is a hitter, and he's been clocked running to first base as fast as Mike Trout. So he's the total package in terms of being an athlete. I mean, let's say for argument's sake that the pitching thing didn't work out. He certainly would have the tools to try to be to transition into a full-time hitter, which is why so many general managers are telling me that his value would have been off the charts if he had just waited.
Do you hear how casually Buster Olney said, like, they think he's a better pitcher than he is a hitter, but the idea is that he is, in fact, a major league hitter? Like, dude, Babe Ruth apparently has just shown up to the major leagues. I am totally intrigued by this. He also apparently could have got a whole lot more money if he had waited a couple years so he wouldn't have to go through this posting process because he's 23, and if you're 25, you then don't have to go through this process. But, I'm here to check this out, and I also think that something that is very, very interesting about this is if this were the mid-1990s or even the early part of the last decade where the Japanese player coming over with that sort of profile, that dude is instant phenomenon. I don't know how this works in baseball now, but I feel like if you got a dude that is like a major league caliber hitter and pitcher in this way, and that doesn't register, then, oh, man, ain't nothing going to do it. Nothing's going to do it. I'd also like to know who the young man has advising him. And the reason I'd like to know who it is that the young man has advising him is he is going to go to the Angels. And as I have told you guys many times, I have a friend who he and I have talked about the Angels over the years, and we used to refer to the Angels as the place where free agents go to die, except the problem was we looked up and found, like, actual free agents who had gone there and then died. But their track record of signing free agents and what happens to them afterwards. I mean, I guess Albert Pujols is still out there hitting home runs a little bit, but that ain't the dude they thought that they were signing to that 50-year contract that they gave him. And this is something that's gone on with the Angels for decades. I guess Vladimir Guerrero worked out. Didn't they get him as a free agent? I feel like that's the one that has worked out for them. Good luck, young fella, because that's not the place to go if you sign a contract. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We talked to y'all about that time y'all broke up a fight and learned that was a bad idea. Sit the phone, talk to Mike in Palm Springs. Mike, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, what's going on, Bo?
Doing all right, man.
Mine isn't necessarily a breaking up a fight, but about my dad breaking up a fight. I'm one of 5 kids. I got an older brother who's 5 years older than me, and my younger brother's 3 years younger than me. So I would always raid my brother's closet because he worked at the mall. Carl Kanai, Jabojin.
Oh, yeah. You're good. No, we lost him. That's too bad. But D from Tennessee got a story. D, thanks for calling the right time. D.
Hey, all right, man. So real quick story, man. So me and my man, we in college, and he got a girlfriend named Keisha. Well, he was messing with this other girl named Bianca at the time, and, I did my friendly duty. I said, hey, man, listen. If it was me, I would start rocking with Bianca. Keisha's a nice girl. He's like, oh, man, I got it. I'm going to play. I'm cool. Okay, all right, man, no problem. So me and him coming back to class one day, we see 2 cars parked in front of our apartment. I'm like, damn. He said, man, that's Keisha and Bianca's car. I was like, hey, man, if it was me, dog, don't go in there. He's like, nah, man, I'm playing like a G. So we walk in the house. At the time, Keisha in there cooking some noodles and Bianca sitting on the couch. Long story short, man, these 2 girls start jumping on my boy. I get the smart idea, man, this ain't right. Let me try to break this up. I go to break it up. Keisha grabbed that pot of noodles, man, throws it all on my J's. Burned my ankle up. I had to go to the ER. Terrible, man, terrible. So word of advice, especially when it comes to relationships and your boy and his girls, don't break it up, man. You did your part by just saying, hey, don't rock with that, and that's it, man.
Hold up, bro. You caught an Al Green case with some oodles and noodles?
Man, with some beef. Nah, man, I say it wasn't even beef. It was a blue pack of Oriental oodles and noodles, man.
Wow. Yo, D, I appreciate the call. And she messed up your J's. Yeah, no. Your partner had to pay for them J's, by the way, and medical care. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, how concerned should we be about the Saints? We'll talk to Jonathan Jones of SI on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest, cover the NFL for Sports Illustrated. His name is Jonathan Jones. Now, John, you were at the game last night. Was this a matter of the Saints offense just being totally different without Alvin Kamara?
Well, that was a big reason why, right? I mean, when you look at what they were doing with Alvin Kamara throughout this entire season, and he goes out on that series. Deion Jones, by the way, who laid that hit on Alvin Kamara, that dude is a hitter. I don't think people talk about him enough. That guy will lay a hit on somebody. But this Saints offense, obviously, with what Alvin Kamara can do in the pass game, of course, in the run game, you'll remember the second play of the game, Atlanta just forgot to cover him out there on that 20-some-yard pass from Drew Brees. And so if they have Alvin Kamara, I don't see how they don't capitalize more on Matt Ryan's 3 interceptions in 4 throws because, of course, the field goal, that was a fluke. But then when you look at how they scored on the other one, they didn't turn into points on the 3rd interception, but they were really going to roll on the Falcons with that offense. I've been very impressed with them. They got to get Kamara back next week.
Now, where are you on the 2017 version of Drew Brees? Is this a guy the Saints can count on to carry them as he has for so many years?
I think so. I mean, listen, he made a very poor decision there at the end of the game. And then, of course, Sean Payton made a very poor decision at the end of the game to ensure that Drew Brees wasn't going to get the ball back. But, no, I think that Brees still has it. There's no doubt about it. Tom Brady's the best that's ever done it. But Drew Brees, at his age, is still right there keeping pace, and he's having to do a lot less. We talk about, when we look at Tom Brady, how much he's having to do with that offensive unit. Drew Brees is having to do a lot less in his advanced age, so I absolutely believe that he's been saving his arm. If you look back last year, the ball wasn't wobbly in December for Drew Brees like it was, let's say, a Phillip Rivers, where he just lost his arm strength there late in the season. Drew Brees kept a tight spiral last year, and you're going to see that with how much he saved his arm this year.
All right, we're talking to John Jones of SI here on The Right Time. Now, overall in the Falcons, how good a team do you think that is?
Look, I wanted to see more progress out of that defense because, you had the Grady Jarrett, you have Vic Beasley, who I think last year might have been a bit of an anomaly when it comes to sacks. You want more consistency out of Desmond Trufant, who has not been able to catch an interception in his entire career. All that said, they have very good pieces, and they're built for sustained success. I think there was a little too much made out of Steve Sarkisian. If you remember when Kyle Shanahan came in, that offense was in shambles. It took a while in that first year, and then things got clicking in the second year. I think Sarkisian was able to pick up where they left off. People were giving Sark, a tough time because of what happened against the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. But listen, this looks a lot like the same Falcons team. You have some strange losses. They shouldn't have lost to Miami at home. They shouldn't have lost to Buffalo at home. Julio Jones shouldn't have dropped that touchdown catch in Carolina. That happened last year where they gave the game away to the Chiefs at home. They had a couple of other strange losses, but they still rounded into shape in December, and that's what we're seeing right now with that win against New Orleans.
All right, now for New Orleans, did you see any cause for concern, or is this a matter of 2 NFL teams, one of them's got to lose?
One of them's got to lose. And, I had mentioned this as soon as the game was over. And then, of course, Drew Brees had his quote after the game that, listen, Thursday Night Football is going to wear you down. Every great Thursday Night Football game, I'm always like, man, I wonder what that would have been like if these cats hadn't just played 100 snaps 3 days prior. And so, when it comes to that game, either team was going to win that game. I'm very excited for what's going to happen in 2 weeks when they have the rematch in New Orleans when the Saints run all black.
All right, we're talking to John Jones of SI here on The Right Time. Now, we've heard a lot this year about Marshawn Lattimore and the impact he's had on the Saints defense. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, so I wrote about him for SI.com earlier this week. I think that he is a standout rookie corner. I was talking with Steve Smith last week about him. I was just kind of off the record. Steve, what do you think about him? He's like, ooh, he's the real deal. I thought that Steve was going to talk some trash about him because, Steve has some trash to talk about just about everybody. And he was quick to offer praise to Marshawn Lattimore, and I say that only because he said exactly what he told me on television last night. That guy, he is a great press man, cover corner. I talked to Charles Woodson, said the same thing about him. And he's working on his zone abilities, and he cannot miss tackling. He missed for the first time on a tackle last night against Julio Jones, and Julio Jones has made a lot of cats miss over the years. I very much like Marshawn Lattimore. And listen, you'll remember back in the spring when the Saints were trying to get Malcolm Butler away from the Patriots, they don't have to worry about trading for another corner. They have it in Marshawn Lattimore. And then when you look around at the other guys they have, Marcus Williams and Ken Crawley, this team, this defense, all you have to do is be decent on defense to give Drew Brees a chance into January. They've had a very, very bad defense for the past 4 years, and we've seen 7-9. Now they have a middle-of-the-road defense with some studs like Cameron Jordan and Marshawn Lattimore, and that will help you get into January ball.
All right, to switch gears just a little bit, you have spent a lot of time around the Carolina Panthers. What do you think about this matchup they've got this week against the Vikings?
It's going to be tough. Cam's never really been good under pressure. The Vikings are going to be bringing it. That defense is for real. You remember last year at the beginning of the season, Cam got sacked, I think, 8 times by the Vikings at home. They're going to keep bringing it. I know that a lot of people may not necessarily take the Vikings seriously because they haven't seen a lot of them, because they have Case Keenum starting at quarterback. This Vikings team is absolutely for real. Now, I don't know how Case is going to do, on the road in the playoffs. He may not have to be on the road in the playoffs the way that they're playing. I think that Minnesota is going to pick up that win. That doesn't mean that Carolina is a bad team. When you look at the teams they've lost to, twice to New Orleans, they lost to Philadelphia without Luke Kuechly. They had that fluke loss to Chicago. Outside of that, they've lost to 10-win teams. And so if they lose to another 10-win team, that doesn't mean that they're garbage. I still think that they're a wild card team that could sneak out a wild card win, get to the divisional round, and then they're going to have some trouble against the Philly, against the Minnesota, against the New Orleans.
Now, do we have anything to point to explain the inconsistency of Cam Newton this year beyond physical things?
Not really, because, he's always been inconsistent, save for that 2015 season that was magical, right? That kind of does stand out as an outlier. And listen, that doesn't mean that he's a poor quarterback. It doesn't mean that he's a below-average quarterback. He is an above-average quarterback. He is a great quarterback. I will not say elite, but he is a great quarterback. But that's always been the book on Cam, that he's going to be inconsistent. Now, I do not mean Jameis Winston inconsistent, because that guy has got to stop just handing the ball over as soon as somebody has him in his grasp. But what I mean is, you're going to get a game where he's going to throw 2 picks and only 140 yards. That's been the case since 2011. All through, and it doesn't really matter if he's playing the Seahawks defense or he's playing some team that's going to win 6 games this season. He's going to be inconsistent, but he's also going to give you those 300-yard games. There was a stretch there, about a 2.5-game stretch where they beat the Patriots and were really rolling, where he was playing like the best quarterback in the NFL, and then he went back to his inconsistency. But you roll with Cam if you're the Carolina Panthers, because he is a top 7 quarterback in this league.
And can you think of anybody else? I guess Russell Wilson is now the guy where the run game and the pass game is built around one guy in the ways that there is.
Yeah, it has to be Russell, which I love this stat, and it boggles my mind, and I think it's about to change this season. Russell Wilson, for how amazing that as he's been, 2 Super Bowls as early as he went there, his play in November and December especially, how no one's going up to Seattle in November and December and beating Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. He has never gotten a single MVP vote in his career. I think that's about to change. Tom Brady may be your MVP, but you've got to take a hard look at what Russell Wilson does, because not only is he playing outstanding football, but if you want to put an emphasis on the V, on value, you extract Russell Wilson from that Seattle Seahawks team, and we're not talking about any type of playoffs for Pete Carroll.
All right, that is Jonathan Jones. Check him out, cover the NFL for SI. My man, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Bo.
All right, now ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, comparing rates to help you save. Now, that's Progressive. Call or click today and find out how much Progressive can save you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Jonathan Jones of Sports Illustrated for joining us last segment. Bobby Marks of ESPN will join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. Subscribe right now to 30 for 30 Podcast in the Listen tab of the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts, brought to you by ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/30. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Talked about how it's not a good idea to break up fights. Some of y'all apparently want to come in and verify that I was correct about that one. Let's hit the phone and talk to Derek in Wilmington. Derek, thanks for calling The Right Time.
What's up, fellas?
Doing all right, man.
Man, this one's about my son. When my son was 6 years old, all right, picture the scene. I'm coming to pick him up, and, he had a school, then he had his after-school thing. I'm picking him up from the after-school thing. And I go, he's sitting in what accounts, I guess, the principal's office or whatever, and he's crying. I'm like, well, what's wrong with you? He said, I hurt Mr. J. I'm going to not give you his whole name just to protect him. I hurt Mr. J. I was like, you hurt Mr. J? What happened? So I get him. I go to get his stuff, and Mr. J looks at me, looks at Nicholas. He says, we're cool now. But earlier there was a fight, and it was my fault. I didn't break it up right. Turns out my son and some kid got in a scuffle. My son was giving him the business, and he snuck up behind my son. He came from behind my son and, grabbed him to pull him away, but my son didn't know it was him. So my 6-year-old son apparently pivoted on him, gave him the two-piece wing dinner, and scratched his entire face up. So by the time I see him, he's been scratched on both sides of his face, and he's got an eye that's starting to blacken from my 6-year-old boy. So, yeah, don't break up fights. Just don't do it.
Hold on, be honest with me. Were you proud of little man?
Yeah. Why do you think I'm over here telling this story? Word life. I was like, you got the two-piece and the biscuit. I was in the car. I had to convince my son that he was going to be all right. I said, he's going to put some ice on that and be cool. My son was like, okay, let's get ice cream. All right.
You found out he was nice with the hands and compassionate at the same time. That's like a father's dream.
There you go.
Hey, man, Derek, I appreciate it, man. You take it easy. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. I don't have kids, but that would be a dilemma for me. What to do if my son comes out here and wins this fight for real, like overwhelmingly, and had a reason for being in said fight? I would find it to be a bit of a dilemma. All right, right past the phone, talk to Charles in St. Louis. Charles, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Hey, Bomani, like the show, man. Listen to you every day.
Thank you, man.
Those are good stories, but doesn't beat this one. I literally was at a party with some friends. We heard a big ruckus out in the driveway. I turned the corner, and a brother and sister are going at it like Muhammad Ali and Frazier, the gorilla in Manila. I mean, haymakers are being thrown. And here's the kicker. He, the brother, the paraplegic, he's in a wheelchair.
What?
Yeah. Now, there was a lot of alcohol involved at this party. But, I mean, they are throwing haymakers at each other, brother and sister. So I take off running. They're about 15 yards from me. And I think, okay, I can get there. By then, she has him pulled out of his chair and on the ground and over the top of him. So I pull her back. In doing so, I catch his right hand upside my head, blacks my eye. In the meantime, she's coming back at him, swings a kick, catches me, and breaks 2 of my ribs.
Whoa!
So I'm laying in the driveway trying to figure out my name. I finally get on my feet and look up. What's happening? Those two are laying on the driveway hugging each other. Oh, I'm so sorry. I love you. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
I've never been over to that house. I won't even drive to that side of the neighborhood.
No. That was a wrap for that. I do think you may have won the contest there, Charles. Good gracious. Although, while we're on that, would you like to hear a story about somebody fighting in a wheelchair? I will tell you a story about someone fighting in a wheelchair. So, my daddy tells this story. I can say his name. I ain't going to say the guy who was actually involved in the fight. But he talked about this back in the day. He was at some party, and one of his partners was cutting the rug with some woman. He's dancing with her, and there's a dude in a wheelchair who was over there watching them dance. And so after they was dancing, the dude in the wheelchair called my dad's friend and was like, hey, come over here for a second. You know, dude in the wheelchair asks you to come over there. You're kind of obligated to do so. And so then he comes over there, and the dude in the wheelchair is like, no, bend down a little bit, man. I want to tell you something. And so, you know, he's in the wheelchair. You do what you can to make life easy for the dude. He's had a bad lot in life, you know. And so he bends over and gets a little closer. And he's like, no, come a little bit closer. And he comes a little bit closer. And then when he gets closer, dude in the wheelchair, bow, gets him in the headlock, right? Like he's got his arm around his neck. He's grinding him out in that headlock, which I imagine, by the way, assuming that, I mean, this is the dude that was in the wheelchair that he had to wheel himself. So I'm imagining that his arms had a certain measure of strength to him because he out here using them on a regular basis, right? And so he's in this headlock. He's trying to break free from the headlock. He's trying to wiggle free. And finally, he wiggles himself free from the headlock. And then he stops. He takes one step behind the wheelchair. Man, he hit that dude and knocked him out the wheelchair with one punch. Dude on the ground. Of course, everybody at the party is mortified by this, right? Like you have knocked the dude out of the wheelchair at the party. And so the dude's on the ground in the wheelchair, man, coming over here like, yo, man, what was you doing? What was you doing? He just looked up and was like, that man tried to kill me. Now, clearly at this point, his life was safe, right? He had learned you can't bend over for the dude in the wheelchair. Like now he has no chance of running up on you or surprising you or making anything happen. You had to be complicit to it within yourself, right? No, this dude broke free from the headlock, took a step behind the wheelchair, which one could argue is dirty pool. Bow, caught him. I don't really know what the moral of the story is there. I was going to try to give you some moral to what the story is. I'm not saying his behavior was appropriate. I just figured that since that dude told his story about people fighting in wheelchairs, I should tell mine. Anyway, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, big week of football in the NFL. We'll get you ready for it on ESPN Radio.
Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is The Right Time with Bomani Jones on ESPN Radio or on the ESPN app.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet to the 1-800-FLYERS.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. We got a lot of NFL games coming up this weekend. Hey, shout out to the NFL on this, by the way. Maybe it's just random happenstance, whatever it is. But we went through a bunch of weeks where we were like, man, I don't want to watch none of those games. Last week, we had good games at the 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. At the 8 o'clock and one for Monday Night Football. This week, the Monday Night Football game isn't so grand. I believe it's New England and Miami. But Sunday, hey, man, we got two winners at the 1 o'clock. We got two winners at the 4 o'clock. And we got a good one at the 8:30. We got what? Vikings, Panthers. We got Raiders, Chiefs. We got Eagles, Rams. We got Seahawks, Jaguars. And we got the Ravens and the Steelers. Though I have to acknowledge, Raiders, Chiefs isn't actually a good game. It's just kind of important in that division that has proven itself to be far more mediocre than any of us would have believed to begin the year. Seahawks Jaguars is going to be one, though. I don't know if you guys saw this, by the way. Some poor reporter had to feel bad for him. Seahawks playing the Jaguars, and he started asking Pete Carroll about Gus Bradley, because Gus Bradley used to be the defensive coordinator in Seattle, and Gus Bradley used to be the head coach of the Jaguars, but this reporter didn't realize that Gus Bradley used to be the head coach of the Jaguars. He used to be. That's Doug Marrone now. Yeah. And then Pete was like, yeah, I think Gus is doing a good job with the Chargers. I feel so bad for that reporter because I had to feel like he got punched in the stomach. But anyway, Eagles-Rams, like, this is one. Now, the thing with me with the Eagles is I'm not sure how good they are. In spite of the record, I'm not sure how good they are, as I think they've beaten up on a litany of fairly mediocre teams. I feel a lot better about the Rams. Like, in the times I've seen the Rams, I felt like I was watching a more impressive team than I felt when I was watching the Eagles. But this is going to, I think, go a long way to tell us a lot about either team. Another one with the Eagles, and where it gets to be interesting, is that the Eagles have stayed on the West Coast, so you don't have like the travel concerns that you ordinarily have. And I guess like you could argue they had last week when they played the game against Seattle. Those teams traveling from either east to west and west to east were asking for a lot of them. But I feel like this is what the NFL needs. Like, we are now in the midst of a stretch that is unlike what much of this season has been, because now we're actually here talking about football. Like the actual games. And with the NFL, like, as much as they kind of like it when we talk about them all year long and the surrounding issues and everything else, that came back this year to bite them in the keister, right? Now they need us just be like, no, just focus on the football. You like us a whole lot more when you just focus on the football. As we try to get into, like, get you interested because of lifestyle stuff, you realize the lifestyle surrounding this is actually not that great. No, we just want you guys talking about football. Just about football. And I gotta say, now that there's kind of just football to talk about, it is a bit more entertaining. I'm no longer furious with the owners, at least not to the point where I notice it every time I watch the game. A lot of you suckers aren't furious with the players anymore, which, you know, kind of brought out something that was dormant within your soul that you might want to get checked out, but whatever. It's a lot easier for you. And now we got these games. I'm a little disappointed, though, in the Chiefs game against the Raiders. Marcus Peters is not going to play because the Chiefs have just had enough of his shenanigans behavior. And then we go on the other side. Amari Cooper will not be playing in the game for the Raiders. And goodness knows Derek Carr need all the help he can get, as Derek Carr is not really doing that much right now to help himself, which I'm assuming is tied to that back injury or whatever injury it was that he came back way too soon from. That's one thing about the NFL that I do think is interesting, is that a guy comes back and plays when he's hurt, and we totally forget about the fact that he ever got hurt, and then we start talking about how the dude is done or whatever it is, or he's just not that good, so forth and so on. Carr's out here, like, I think it was like a 2 to 6 week injury. He came back in like a week, and we can't figure out why it is that he looks sorry. How'd that work? 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Now, staying with these NFL games, I think it is pretty interesting. Not so much interesting at this point because it's gone on for so long. But how many of y'all would have bet started this season that the Jaguars would be playing the Seahawks and the Jaguars would be favored? I don't care if they were playing at home or not. The Jaguars have Blake Bortles at quarterback, and they are favored over the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, I feel like we are not giving them enough credit for what the run of consistency is that they've had basically since the 2012 season. It's not just that they've been consistently good. It's not just they keep going to the playoffs. It's that the games are almost entirely within one score. Like, they are so difficult to put away, and now, in spite of the injuries they have in the secondary, in spite of Sherman being hurt, in spite of Cam Chancellor being hurt, Earl Thomas is back, but I'm assuming he's still dinged up with the stuff that he was injured with before. They're still getting it done. They don't have a running back that can get a touchdown for himself. Russell Wilson just strapped the squad on his back like he's back at NC State and is making it happen. Like, what they're doing this year is really kind of Patriots-esque, and I think the Patriots have kind of messed it up for us in terms of the way that we look at the Seahawks, because the Patriots have been doing this now for like 17 years. The fact that the Seahawks are doing this for as long as they have in this salary cap era is every bit as impressive as it was when the Patriots did it during, like, for this kind of time period. And we were very impressed by the Patriots when they did it for this sort of time period. It's just that the Seahawks are doing this while the Patriots are still getting it done. But don't sleep for a second. The run of consistency that they've managed to have as that division, by the way, which at different points has been pretty good. All the teams have rotated up and been decent, which is a different thing than you could say about the AFC East, where it's just kind of perpetually mediocre. Seahawks are getting it done. They're also underdogs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. Didn't see that coming. We also have Ravens Steelers going tonight. Now, I said earlier that the Falcons and the Saints is the best rivalry in the NFL. A whole lot of people got upset with me, and they said that actually it is Ravens Steelers that's the best rivalry in the NFL. And I would say that Ravens Steelers, if you were talking strictly about the football, you are probably right. But the comparison that I would make on that is, I think if you ask most people in America what the best college basketball rivalry is, most of them would say Carolina and Duke. And they would say Carolina and Duke in large part because of the fact that the game is always nationally relevant, which I'm sure is an attractive thing to people who don't have, like, a dog in the fight when it comes to the game itself. So I totally understand where people are coming from on that one. And I spent 10 years living in Durham, North Carolina, so I have a very intimate understanding and acquaintance with that rivalry. It is great. I enjoy it very much. It's so hilariously petty. Decidedly bourgeois, but hilariously petty nonetheless. But Kentucky-Louisville is the best rivalry in college basketball. Now, you can talk about which one is more storied because they had that long stretch of time where Kentucky and Louisville didn't play each other. You know, you can talk about all those things. But it means something just a little bit different to the people involved in that one. And I'm not saying that Carolina-Duke does not mean something, because it does. It's a 365-day sort of thing. But after that game is over, people kind of go back to their lives. Kentucky-Louisville, they go back to getting ready for playing this game again next year, and just in a much different way. So to me, Falcons-Seahawks is a better rivalry, not just because of the football, but because of some of the fun stuff that is around it. Steelers-Ravens, you know, it's good. Strictly football. Playing twice a year, I don't think you get anything better. And we get that on Sunday Night Football. Way to give me something I can appreciate, NFL. You've been coming up slack this year, but here you go. Try to redeem yourself at the end of the year like you want me to buy you a Christmas present. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We were talking a little bit earlier about these security guards who had to try to stop DeMarcus Cousins from going to fight Kevin Durant. And I said, I'm not really in this business of breaking up fights, and it's the worst idea you could have. And a lot of you have been calling in with stories that verify that breaking up fights is wildly overrated. Let's hit the phone and talk to Kevin in Delaware. Kevin, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo, how you doing? Man, I got the best breakup fight ever, Bo. I played Division I football at a prominent school in the Northeast. It's in two-a-days. You know how two-a-days goes. It gets hot, everybody's tired, sweaty, fight breaks out. Starting offensive tackle against starting defensive tackle. Now, let me just set the stage for you. The starting offensive tackle was one of the head coach's favorites.
Ooh.
Starting defensive tackle was one of the head coach's nightmares.
Ooh.
So let's just say the defensive tackle is getting the best of the offensive tackle. Our head coach goes and jumps into the middle of the fight that breaks it up. The D tackle notices our head coach is in the scrum. All of a sudden, his angle of punches turn from the offensive tackle to the head coach.
No.
At that point, Bo, everybody is diving in to break up the fight.
Whoa! They kind of got to save him from himself at that point.
Say it again, Bo. I'm sorry.
I guess he had to save him from himself at that point.
Oh, no, Bo. We had to say the head coach. The D tackle switched angles and was going at the coach.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. You had to save your D tackle from getting kicked off the team.
Oh, yes.
So here's what I want to know. How do we work this out with me and you can get in touch so you can tell me where this was?
Very easily, Bo. Very easy. You tell me how to get a hold of you, and I will send it to you.
Go to my Twitter. Go to my Twitter profile and hit the link that's in the profile and just drop me a note because I have a sneaky suspicion I know who caught it. Wow, Kevin from Delaware. Wow, yo. By the way, stories of college football players fighting their coaches a little bit more prominent than a lot of you would realize. And they can go either way. But the moral of the story, don't fight the strength coach. Whatever you do, don't fight the strength coach. Because you know what a very important part of the job of being a strength coach is? Staying ready. Because your job is to get people mad enough to want to fight you, but instead decide to fight some weights. You have to stay ready. Just like UCLA. You want to know why UCLA was so bad at football? Their strength coach lost a fight to Diddy. Anyway, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, Kobe Bryant is coaching. Kobe Bryant is running the triangle. But find out whose team he's coaching on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Bobby Marks of ESPN will join us next segment. Bobby Marks will join us at 6:30 Eastern. Talk about some NBA stuff. That's the old soul song of the day. Santa Claus is Coming to Town by the Jackson 5, which, by the way, the Jackson 5 Christmas album, if you like bass, the Jackson 5 Christmas album goes hard. Like, nobody sounds happier singing about Christmas than a young Michael Jackson, which is really impressive considering the fact that they was Jehovah's Witnesses, so they wasn't even getting to celebrate Christmas. They was just singing songs about it to get that money. By the way, I play Christmas songs till the end of the month for the old soul song of the day. And if some of you do not celebrate Christmas, I understand. You're just going to have to live with it. If your argument for not celebrating Christmas is because you are not Christian, I understand. Neither am I. But I enjoy a good time and stuff. Reason for the season? I ain't got to get that deep. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. All right, guys, peep game here. Kobe Bryant is now coaching. But he's not coaching like a high school. He is coaching a, rec league team from what I can tell. rec league team. Kobe Bryant has that rec league team running the triangle offense. It's Kobe's daughter's team. Kobe's daughter is playing basketball on a team that is coached by Kobe Bryant. Where to begin, guys? Where to begin? Number one, I don't understand how running the triangle is any fun if you are 11 years old. I also like to know a little bit more about just how evolved a form of the triangle offense it is that he's running and what the Kobe Bryant standard for perfection is at that. So, like, for example, I would have a hard time. This is how I'll put it. I have a hard time when people are like writing something and they'll come ask me to tell me what I think of what they wrote because I do this for money. And so I'll have to ask them like, yo, what kind of criticism are you looking for? Because I can understand if you get frustrated being criticized on a standard that like I would uphold, but maybe this will work for what it is that you got. I don't know. Like, what it is do you want me to do? I don't get the feeling that so I wouldn't have a gauge of how to grade something that like a seventh grader writes. I don't know how Kobe Bryant is going to be out here gauging sixth grade girls playing basketball. I don't really understand this. The other thing I don't understand about Kobe being a coach is you can't coach everybody on a team to play like Kobe. There's really only room for one Kobe on a team. There wasn't room for a Kobe and a Shaq. So there is really only room for one Kobe on a team. And I guess it's safe to say that the Kobe on the team will probably be his daughter. But I would love to know what the suggestions are that he has given the other kids. And, oh, by the way, how is it that you're supposed to run the triangle when your whole team never practices passing? Don't they pass? Why do you practice that for? You just do it when you have to. What's that? I don't really understand this. So, yeah, I want to see more here. So here's what he says here, and I quote, "We run the triangle offense. It's awesome. Listen, I sit there with my kids. The girls will go out, and I'll say, okay, you're going against the zone. I need you to cross again. Wing entry, hit the two pass to the post, bypass first cutter, second cutter, hit the third cutter, and they'll go, okay." And so the best part of this apparently is that the kids are looking at Kobe like this is ridiculous, and Kobe knows that the kids are looking at him like this is ridiculous, and then he's going to do it again. I think. Somebody make a documentary out of this, please. Someone. And, by the way, I have to admit, Kobe in retirement is going a lot more smoothly than I ever thought it would because I figured he would need to find something to do to beat people at. Like, it would not. I expect Kobe to turn into golfer guy at some point, and then he's just going to be out there beating people. In fact, I feel like Kobe's calling was probably as a golfer because he could focus single-mindedly on it and get out there and be extra competitive and beat people and never have to pass the ball to anybody other than yourself. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You guys been calling in, telling these stories about when you learned a hard lesson that breaking up fights is wildly overrated. Let's hit the phones and talk to Jeremy in Arizona. Jeremy, thanks for calling the right time.
What's up, Bo and Shannon? How y'all doing, man?
Doing all right, man.
Good. Hey, I got a story. This happened. It's the summer 1990 up at Ferry State University, which is about two hours northeast of Detroit. So me and my frat brothers, we just got offline.
Hold on. Which frat?
Kane side, baby. You already know.
Okay. So y'all got sticks. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Canes. So sticks. we just got offline. So we fresh. I was on the wrestling team as well. So anyway, we come up to the crib, and one of my roommates, he cut hair and stuff. So we got a bunch of cats at the crib, but most of us still ain't got rides. I had a ride, but it's like 6 or 7 dudes in the house. But you can't tell there's a lot of guys in the house because they put like 1 or 2 cars outside. So me and my fans say "Coo," they call him Cuckoo because he is cuckoo. So we roll up, and we about to walk in the house, and we see down the street, we see this guy and lady literally in the street fighting. We like look at each other like, man, what you gonna do? I mean, normally you don't do that, but we 19, 20 years old, so we got involved. So we walked down the street like, hey man, what's going on? And we made enough ruckus that the lady, she took off. And now this dude, he coming down the street at us, and it's just me and my saying, say cool. And he walking up to us, we sort of standing like, uh-oh. And we both got our canes in our hand. We fresh off the sands. So next thing you know, we start seeing something shiny. This dude got a butterfly knife. He's throwing this thing around with that. We're like, all right. So me as a wrestler, boom, I get close up to him. First thing I do, I go for his knees, get him on the ground. And man, Bo, next thing I know, I heard my saying said, cool. I got homeboy in the headlock. And then my saying said, cool, just start cracking dude upside the head with a cane. And so, from there, next thing you know, police came, put him in the van, in the vehicle or whatever, and then like that next few days went by, police came to my job, which is on the university, and they asked me, they said, so you're not in any trouble with him, but we just want to know, because homeboy got 13 stitches in his head, why did y'all beat him up so bad? And we was like, he was fighting with a woman. We tried to break it up. So, them canes is, used for a lot of time more than swirling, man. Just let you know.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. I would just like to say that story actually did not at all fall in line with the theme of our why breaking up fights is overrated. Like, I think it's a good thing that you helped protect that woman in that circumstance. But you just wanted to tell the story about how y'all beat somebody up. I mean, that really wasn't what we was doing. But, I mean, yes. I'm glad y'all were there to beat that dude up with those sticks. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next, can the Warriors afford a dynasty? We'll talk to Bobby Marks of ESPN about the cap ramifications of how they're living on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Hey, if you travel for work, listen up. Book your next business trip at Upside.com, and I'll give you two of the best gifts anyone will give you this holiday season. A free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones so you can have some peace and quiet on your business trip, and the gift of a better business travel experience. Only Upside monitors your business trip around the clock, proactively keeping you posted on everything from the weather in the city you're going to changing your flight home so you can adjust your meeting schedule. Have you ever experienced that level of service before on a business trip? Nope. All that plus Upside is great prices for flights, hotel, or rental cars. Now to get your free pair of Bose SoundLink wireless headphones, use my code Bomani when you book your first business trip at Upside.com. That's code Bomani at Upside.com to claim my free gift to you. Bose SoundLink wireless headphones. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Headphones available while supplies last. Must be first Upside purchase. $600 minimum purchase required. See site for complete details. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Just like our next guest, he's an NBA insider for us here at ESPN. His name is Bobby Marks. Now, Bobby, you wrote a piece about how long the Warriors can afford to keep this run going given the salary cap in the NBA. So how long do you think it's really feasible for them to keep this up with the talent they have?
Well, I think it depends on – I think that's an answer for Joe Lake up there. I think finances will certainly come into play. I think they've got to hit on some of these draft picks that I alluded to in the piece. I know, Clay and Draymond and Steph recently, but they besides Patrick McCall and Jordan Bell, they haven't been fortunate in the first round. But the cost is going to get up there. I mean, this is kind of the precursor to 2019 when Clay's a free agent, Draymond's a free agent the following year, and we're looking at possibly a $400 million team. Can they do it? Yeah, of course they can, but your depth might take a little bit of a blow right now.
Now, just to be clear, did you say a $400 million team?
I did, because what's going to happen is they'll be in the repeater tax, and the tax penalty, they're paying about $32 million this current year. That almost doubles, the tax bill that in 2019 will be about $225 million, $170 million in salary plus. You could have Durant as a max, Curry as a max, Thompson as a max, and that doesn't even take into the fact that Thompson would be, that super max eligible this offseason if he earns all NBA. So those are the decisions that they're going to weigh down. And even if they wanted to go to discount route that KD did this past summer, it's still going to cost them probably over $150 million in luxury tax penalties. So that's the decision they have to weigh. The cost of winning, on the court right now, or, try to put another banner up there.
All right, we're talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on the right time. And I guess it's fair to say that this is what the collective bargaining agreement was designed to do, right?
That's what it makes owners it's a hard decision there. You're going to see it in Oklahoma City. You're going to see what happens if this team kind of hovers around 500 for the remainder of the season, gets into the playoffs, as a 6 seed or a 5 seed, and I mean they're in the same boat next year from a repeater tax standpoint. I mean, you could look at a tax bill of $120-130 million penalty for this group, and that's it's the cost of being good but not great, and I think that's where Oklahoma City's we're trending towards with them right now.
All right, now you just mentioned Oklahoma City, and I've been curious about this, that they have a short time horizon to figure out if this pair of guys, three guys they have together, can work. when something slow starts like this in the NBA, normally attention goes to the head coach. Like, how safe do you think Billy Donovan would be, given that they kind of need to hold this thing together?
Well, he's fortunate that Chris Wallace from the Grizzlies is his GM right now, right? I mean,
Right.
Can you imagine that? He would probably be on the street right now. And I give Sam Presti a lot of credit. Their general manager in Oklahoma City from a patience level, because there are a lot of teams that would have probably pulled the trigger by now. And I saw it in Brooklyn that year in 13-14 after we did that Boston trade, and we got off to an 8-19 start. And what happens is that it starts to divide. You have management, and then you have coaches. You know, you get into a little bit of a blame game, which is not going on in Oklahoma City. Management saying, I got you these players. The coaching staff saying they're not good enough there. And you haven't seen that in Oklahoma City. And I think they're going to play this out here. And you'll get into the conversation probably post-Jan 1 with Paul George. If this team is still struggling about the future of him there, I don't think you can do much with Carmelo. The bench is not as good as I thought it would be. You know, Patrick Patterson coming off off-season knee surgery, Raymond Felton. Now you're relying on some of your younger players, Terrence Ferguson. I mean, last night we got when was the last time you got a Kyle Singler and Nick Collison, appearance, both at the same time in that Brooklyn game? And I think that kind of shows you, I think, where their lack of depth is right now.
All right, we are talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. Back to the Warriors, though. A question you mentioned about them not really hitting in the draft. How hard is it to hit on those late first-round picks?
Oh, it's extremely hard, and it's pretty amazing that the guys they hit on are the players they bought in the second round. You know, picks Patrick McCall, Jordan Bell. They paid about $5.9 million from them, and it's a crapshoot. I don't care where you're picking, unless maybe you're picking one and Ben Simmons is kind of staring right at you. You've got to figure out what guys are a fit. I mean, Kevon Looney, who they picked a couple years ago, they didn't even pick up his option for next year's fourth year. Damian Jones has been down in the G League in Santa Cruz, and that's what you need. I think that's where the difference is maybe with San Antonio, where you have Dejounte Murray, Kyle Anderson, guys like that. When Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard are injured, you can kind of just slide those guys in there, and you're not going out there searching for minimum guys. And I think that's kind of what certainly has kept San Antonio afloat this season.
All right, we're talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. What do you think about the Jahlil Okafor trade to the Nets?
I liked it for Brooklyn. It's Okafor and Stauskas. It's basically a 5-month kind of tryout for both guys. I think Okafor. I mean, we forget he's still 21. I mean, he doesn't turn 22 until next week. You kind of cut bait with him in Philadelphia. Where he fits will be interesting based on how Brooklyn plays. They kind of go up and down. I think if you want to slow the game down and put him at the 5, he's probably their best 5 now with what they have on the roster. They get a second-round pick in 2019. I think those are the type of trades that Sean Marks, their general manager, has to do and has been doing. You saw the D'Angelo Russell trade, Alan Crabb, guys like that. And with Trevor Booker, and I'm a huge fan of him, he was a free agent this offseason. You probably weren't going to bring him back, and at least you get two guys in their 20s, and you get a second-round pick for him, and for a team that's probably not going to go to the playoffs.
Now, do Okafor's on-court, off-court numbers worry you? Because even going back to Duke, it seems like his teams are better when he doesn't play.
It does, but I think if you're going to take a flyer on it and not really give up anything, it's not like Brooklyn had to give up picks to get him. I think it's certainly worth the risk. I think as I said earlier, the only concerning point is if you watch Brooklyn play, they like to shoot a lot of threes. They like to go small a lot. Booker played the 5, a lot during the year. What happens when the game slows down? I don't think they're a half-court team, so that will be probably the one interesting thing to watch there.
All right, we're talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. Have you been surprised by how good the Rockets have been on defense?
It's amazing. It really is, and I think, and I said it the other night sometimes it's a little bit easier when you're integrating a new point guard. I know Chris was out for a little bit while, but the guys they got in the offseason, PJ Tucker, Luke Baumute, guys who hard-nosed guys who know their roles. Clint Capella is having a career year. Will be a restricted free agent in the offseason. And, yeah, I mean, I am surprised. I thought when we looked at the Western Conference, I had Oklahoma City ahead of Houston just based on the offensive firepower with Thunder. And what Houston's been able to do with their defense is pretty amazing. And they got Eric Gordon kind of playing at an all-star level from an offensive standpoint. So, yeah, I am surprised for a team that's kind of another team that goes up and down there that's kind of been their I guess their bread and butter so far, and that will go a long way when you get into the playoffs.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels kind of like an evolution of Daryl Morey, because if there's ever been a complaint that I've had of him is that he wasn't concerned enough with things like chemistry and personality of a team, and he made those sorts of moves that seem less about, I mean, I'm sure the numbers probably helped, but like the personality of the team.
Well, you're right. I mean, it's usually, and I kid with Daryl when I see him, and I always say that, when free agency starts, he's always the guy that's chasing these big name guys, and I think that helped this past offseason, that he did not have to, besides doing the Chris trade before June, before free agency, that once he did that, then he can kind of just focus on signing role players. I mean, could you imagine what would happen if they did the Carmelo trade? That thing probably, they might be where Oklahoma City is right now. Maybe not as worse, but that might have kind of, skewed their chemistry because you probably wouldn't have had a Ryan Anderson. Maybe you wouldn't have had an Eric Gordon there. So what happens to Tucker and Mute as far as what their role is? And as I said, it fits. Sometimes we get caught up about the names on the back of the jerseys, but guys who can kind of do the dirty thing, little things and get their hands dirty are the guys that really kind of earn their keep.
All right, that is Bobby Marsh. Check him out as an insider on the NBA for us here at ESPN. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, now get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Penzo Performance Line. Thanks to Bobby Marks of ESPN for joining us last segment. Thanks to Jonathan Jones of Sports Illustrated for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Thanks to Cam Stewart for joining us with his NFL picks in the 4 o'clock Eastern hour. And thanks to Anita Marks of ESPN for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Shannon's out today. Nuno, what we miss out on?
All right, so if you missed it earlier, besides making fun of the Falcon fans, we talked about the Falcons actually beating the Saints and how, based upon the play from Matt Ryan and Drew Brees, if you missed Bomani talking about how some of these younger guys might be looking at those guys like, hey, time to slide over and let us run the show.
Matt Ryan was doing everything he possibly could to be like, hey, Saints, I would love to lose this game to my rival at the crib. Remember last year when everybody was trying to tell me that I had been wrong about Matt Ryan all these years? And it's not even really this that I had been wrong about Matt Ryan all these years, because I am not the only person that had felt that way. But Matt Ryan had the season of his life. Everybody looked at him and was like, yo, man, he's balling. Good for Matt Ryan. But what you learned was, in the words of the great philosopher, man, you was who you was when you got here. He is the same exact dude that he had been prior, and that dude gives the ball away a bit. There he is. There he was, giving the ball away. Saints also wound up, I thought, in an interesting situation in this game where they have not been asking Drew Brees to go win games for them. And, I mean, to be fair on that, I don't think that's really an indictment of Drew Brees. Drew Brees, old as hell. Like, at some point, you stop putting the weight of your whole offense on some dude's arm. That is what they stopped doing, what Kamara allowed them to stop doing, except then Kamara wasn't there. And now, all of a sudden, you got to look a lot more like the Saints. Now, this isn't to say that Drew Brees played badly. That interception was certainly bad. But I wouldn't say that Drew Brees played badly in that game. But we are beyond the point in Drew Brees' career where you're going to be like, all right, buddy, carry us. Take us there. Get us through. We're not there anymore. We've been there before, but we're not there anymore. So when that dude gets hurt, you got to be like, all right, Drew, go make it happen? I don't know. And so what we do also then end up with is I've talked about the Falcons-Saints rivalry and how it's evolved and everything else. It has been marked really for the last 10 years by the quarterbacks. Drew Brees got there in 2006, and that, of course, the Brees-Peyton era ushered in something completely different for the Saints, right? Like, that's a whole changing of the guard in just about every way you could possibly imagine with that 2006 team. It's basically almost like they got a whole new team. You got that. But the last 10 years of this has been Brees Ryan, Brees Ryan, Brees Ryan. This is basically what this rivalry has been. Matt Ryan come out here and throw 3 interceptions, and Drew Brees throws the interception at the end. These other cats, man, they need to be out there on the field with their helmets off like, look at me, bro. We the future. We what this is. This is us.
All right, so let me ask you, how long do you think this rivalry with those two guys will be involved? Like, how much longer?
Well, that's a good question, because the thing about Matt Ryan is, I think Matt Ryan feels older than he is. This is his 10th year in the league. So you would presume that he could probably play at a high level for another 4 or 5 years maybe, given what we've seen. Drew Brees, though, Drew Brees came into the league the same year as LaDainian Tomlinson and Michael Vick. And Michael Vick left school early. So I don't know how much longer he has. And, the Saints have figured out how to get some young players there, which works out for them. But they had spent a lot of time throwing a lot of money at Drew Brees and holding up their cap as a result. I don't know how this is going to ultimately go. But I don't think Drew Brees is going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, so the house cleaning in Cleveland has begun. The Browns have waived wide receiver Kenny Britt, who was in his first year of a 4-year deal. So let me ask you, if you're a vet on that team, how uncomfortable are you right now?
Ooh, man. That depends on what would make you uncomfortable, because is the idea of getting to leave Cleveland and go play somewhere else really something that would make you uncomfortable? In fact, it might be how excited are you if you're a vet. Like, I think somebody else would give Kenny Britt a job. Kenny Britt would be like, look, I got some upfront money out this, and I ain't got to play here no more. Jamie Collins is sitting there like, yo, I signed a big deal. Maybe they might want to move that out to give themselves some cap relief of some sort. I'd be interested.
All right, so it's award weekend in the sports world. So yesterday, my boy Cristiano Ronaldo won his 5th Ballon d'Or. And then in an interview, he said, no other footballer does things that I'm able to do. He was like, people have the right to prefer Neymar or Messi, but I insist there's no one more complete than me. You would go and say that I have a big head, but when you're at the top, it's normal to be criticized. I'm the best player in history in both good and bad times. We like our superstars to be humble, but when you hear someone say that, what's your reaction?
Oh, my goodness, that sounds like wrestling. Right? That sounds like something Ric Flair would say. He's like, yeah, you can have whoever you want, but you know who the God MC is. If that's what he believes, I guess go ahead. That soccer thing is a bit of a different animal, because that would never happen here ever. But talk your talk, homeboy.
One of my favorite ones is he was booed one time, and they asked him why. He was like, I don't know, because I'm good looking, I'm rich, and I'm able to play. Real quick, I don't know about you, but as I get older, I hate change. But Ed Sheeran came out and said Beyonce changes her email every week. Is that a case of just doing way too much?
No, she's the one playing this game the right way. She's got your email address. You don't need hers. She talks to you when she wants. But, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. Every weekday, 4 p.m. Shannon, Cat, Ryan. Thanks so much. Jalen Jacoby coming up next.